Hi, I'm Kyle Van Dam. Today I'm joined by Justin Jones and Mike Boatman. And now, let's talk textiles. Welcome everyone to Talking Textiles. I'm Kyle Van Dam, owner of Marine Tops Unlimited and member of the ATA. The goal of this podcast is to get to know the wide variety of positions and markets that make the advanced textiles world turn. We will be talking to professionals in different roles throughout this series to help inspire the next generation of textile professionals and anyone interested in learning more about others' journey in the world of textiles. ATA offers advanced textiles throughout the year, including the Marine Fabricators Conference 2027 taking place January 7th through the 9th in Nashville, Tennessee, which features 3 full days of education and networking designed to help you cultivate industry connections, improve your efficiency, and increase revenue. Visit textiles.org/events to learn more. Today we're going to be talking about rebranding and the importance of brand. Our featured guests are Justin Jones, the owner of So Long Custom Covers, and Mike Boatman, owner of Boatman Marine Canvas. Thanks for being on the podcast today, guys. Today we're talking about kind of some branding and rebranding. I'll just throw the first question at both you guys, and don't jump all in at the same time. Take your turns. But first question being like, why does brand matter, especially in a crowded or competitive markets, which sometimes obviously the marine canvas upholstery flooring business can be, or depending on where you are, maybe it's not so competitive, but especially something, makes me think of like the Florida landscape, very competitive. But to you guys, why does brand matter to you guys, and what does that mean to you?
I was going to kind of start off joking around, shocking that, if your last name's Boatman, that's a good way to start branding, right? I don't know how much easier it can be than that. So if you don't have that luxury, yeah, I mean, branding and marketing and logos and all that kind of stuff, it can kind of turn into a little bit of a gray area, but branding specifically, it's obviously helps with, your trust, your reputation, and your perception of how the customer sees you. And so I think, branding's very important. And you're getting branded even if you're consciously branding yourself or not, right? So whatever the customers are saying about you when you're not around is really what your brand is, right? So you're hoping that they're saying all good things and saying what a good reputation you have, what good work you did, how speedy it was, that you're friendly and you didn't lie to them, and and all that stuff. So all that is a part of the overall brand. So it's very important to that you're driving the ship on that and not just letting it randomly happen ultimately.
Yeah, those are good points. Absolutely.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. The thing I really like that you said is you're being kind of branded whether you do it or not. And so I think it's just really important that you're intentional about it. And so that you send the same consistent message all the time about what your brand is, that logo you use, the way you write, the way you talk, the way you do your social posts, because it really does kind of solidify with your customers who you are, and it makes you more recognizable.
Yeah, no, I think both of you guys hit great points there, and that's obviously why you guys were chosen to be on this podcast talking about branding and rebranding. I think those are both great responses for that and touched on a kind of a number of leading questions that I've got here. But how does a strong brand influence trust before a customer even buys? So, if a customer has not bought from you before and maybe they don't even have a ton of word of mouth and they're just looking at you guys as opposed to someone else, as opposed to something online or blah, blah, blah. What do you guys feel like, having that strong brand, how can that help influence the customer to kind of come your way?
85% of people pick up their phone first and Google boat covers near me or whatever it is. So, in my opinion, that's where it really starts. So, if you don't have a decent website and equally as important, a decent mobile site, obviously that's tied in with your regular website, that's the first horse right out of the gate, right? So, if they see that and it looks professional, it looks decent, it's answering most of their questions, then they can either, when they're home later that night, get on the main website and really peruse through there. And so that's the kind of their first visual. And then on the mobile app too, if they can click on your social media I think Justin and I were talking about this in Savannah, Georgia. They click on your social media and they go, "Oh, well, the website looked really good, but they hadn't posted anything on Instagram in a year and a half." Well, and so what you want to do is reduce friction, right? You want the customer just to slide right into your email or slide. You get that phone number real easy. And so if your branding's not really smooth and consistent all the way through, then it's going to start popping up questions. Like I said, like, oh, wow, they hadn't posted anything on Facebook or Instagram in over a year. Are they still in business? Now you're crazy, creating problems for yourself. Now your branding has a big, huge speed bump and they ran headlong into it. And hopefully, and that's assuming they don't know you at all. They've had no, their neighbor hadn't referred you. They don't know you from anybody. And so I think that the branding and that from their Google on that cell phone into that website and then to your social media, it's got to be pretty strong, in my opinion. And then that's going to get you off to a really good start. And then when they call you, try to answer the phone. That'll be the next step, which
Answer
sometimes
your
I have a
phone.
hard time doing being a small shop. But
Number one business tip: answer your
yeah,
phone.
yeah, answer the phone, right?
You'd be
Yeah.
surprised at how many times I hear that, and I won't name any names or anything, but other canvas shops that people turn to us after they maybe have tried to interact with, of just, yeah, I couldn't get them to email me back or answer the phone, which I get that because when it's so busy, it's just like, it feels like, especially for a small shop, when we were growing, and we're a little bit bigger now, but when we were growing, especially being a small shop, you have the people doing the work are also people answering the phone, also the people doing the emails, also the people cutting the grass and shoveling the snow if you're up by me, and also doing 14 other things. And it's just like every time you get in like that zone of, oh, I'm really kind of going on this, cutting this cover, designing this cover, I got some good CAD work going here, whatever it might be. All of a sudden the phone rings and you're like, God, I don't even want this job. Just like, just go away. I want to get this other one done. But yeah, so I know how that goes for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But yeah,
maybe I'll add to Mike's comment there, just with that branding and kind of the recognition. I agree that I think people do, if they don't have a direct referral and they think, oh, I need a boat cover or whatever, they'll go Google it. And I think the ultimate goal is for somebody to Google it and then my listing shows, but they see my logo and it's familiar to them already. They've seen some of our social posts. They didn't necessarily need the cover at the time, but I guess the ultimate goal with your kind of marketing and branding is that you're pleasantly persistent in front of the face. So when they're really ready to buy, they recognize it already, and that's where you've got the trust. You're like, oh yeah, that guy. I've seen that guy at the boat show. I've seen that guy's social reels. I've seen that logo before. I want to let me dig into that one. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's a great point. That makes me just think of like when we go to our boat shows, we do three of them now, and we just got into a big one that's 2 weekends long, and some of the days between it. It's an 8 day long show total in Milwaukee. And this is the first year we did it this year, and it was we did not sell a single job at it, but we haven't sold almost a single job at a boat show, and maybe a one or two here. But at one point, 10, 15 years ago, we used to do 25% of our sales at a boat show. So the landscape has really changed on that. And it's easy to look at it as, this isn't worth it anymore, not worth my time as my business. But we keep looking at it as it's branding, it's marketing, it's the most direct marketing you can do for relatively cheap, cheap price to be in front of that many boaters and keep your logo and your brand and all that stuff, like you just said, Justin, in front of them. It would cost you tons of money to be on commercials or other things rather than a booth at a boat show for a weekend or a week or whatever it might be. So, yeah, I mean, for us, it's just been, we're not trying to sell stuff there. We're just trying to push our brand, increase our visibility and things like that for sure. So, yeah, that's a great point, Justin. I think it's great that you brought that up.
We were in boat shows for years, and one thing, if we ever skipped a year, then people would go, "Oh, I wonder if they're out of business." And so
Right.
you don't want that either. And I'm real bad about shows since stuff happened, in 2017. I was in the 2018 one, and probably shouldn't confess this, but that's the last one I've been in until this year. So it's definitely I got to. It's like, okay, I need to do this. So it's definitely an important part of branding and marketing. You got to be out in front because if you're not there, then they're going to think that you went out of business, and yeah, you definitely don't want that. So I'm correcting that ship this year for sure.
Yeah, yeah. I like Justin said too. Is it's part of being consistent of always being there in front of the show because not we're not. It's not like I don't know. It's not like we're a daily use product that customers need. It's every 5 or 10 years when they buy a new boat, maybe they need something for us. A cover should last 10 years. Upholstery should last maybe more than that, probably. A floor, they don't need us every year. It's not like we're constantly coming to clean their gutters or cut their grass every week or something like that. So just a little different on that for sure. But well, let me jump into this next kind of part. What do you guys feel your brand? How does that affect kind of customer loyalty and repeat business? Tell me what you guys think about how does that help that sort of a thing. What's your thoughts on that, I should say?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's huge, right? I think we're doing our best to make boat covers cool and have a cool name behind it. And I think that people are really proud to share, oh, I've got the So Long bimini top, or I've got the So Long cover on my boat. And so I think customers sharing that name, it it really is important to us, and the repeat business. And I think there's a pride in something cool and different or better that makes them want to keep coming back and give us referrals. Tell their friends, hey, you're gonna buy the new whatever boat, you got to make sure you got the So Long cover on.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. You guys do a great job with that in that wake boat, towboat industry for sure, which is I know your guys' big industry is just
Yeah.
the way you brand yourself. You definitely brand you guys yourselves as the premium product. If you want to go buy a watch, you can buy a watch, but there's only one Rolex kind of thing.
Right.
And that's what you can tell by your branding and marketing is that where you guys position yourself both in the products you make and the marketing you guys have behind it. So
Yeah.
yeah, really cool. What do you think about that, Mike?
Yeah, the like on the boat cover side, since we do quite a bit of that, with the loyalty part, especially when you've been in it as long as we have since 1974, you start getting the reputation. Oh, that man, they built that cover so good. They start describing the product, right? I know we're not talking about products, but it fits tight. That thing lasted 20 years, and then that's where that kind of word of mouth gets around. And so, yeah, if you build the product right to begin with, and it lasts past their expectations or what you told them to expect, maybe the cover had a 5-year warranty or a 7-year limited warranty, then yeah, that just kind of feeds into to their loyalty, which feeds into the brand, and they're going to come back to you easy the second time and third time, so we've been doing it so long. We're working on the I think I'm getting older, my customers are getting younger, which is aggravating. But yeah, so now we're working on their kids' boats because we worked on their parents' boat, right? And then it's just when it comes down to sales, well, that makes it 1,000 times easier, right? Because like I said, there's no friction, there's no resistance, there's no questions, no speed bumps. Yeah, it's smooth
Yeah.
sailing.
Yeah, it's funny you bring that up, and I always think of there's a using these really high quality materials and fabrics materials and all the products that go the raw goods that go into making boat covers and different things. Like you said, some of these covers last 15, 20 or plus years if maybe the folks actually don't keep them outside all the time or something, especially too. And part of the problem with that is not so much the like, hey, we need some, we need this, the idea of, you hear that the iPhones that, or the, any phones, I shouldn't just say iPhones, but that are made to the battery starts to be crappy after a year or two and they're made to fail. They're products that make you come back and buy another one and another one and another one. It's not so much that where we can't have repeat businesses often. I find it's 20 years later when the guy comes and he's like, well, last time I got a cover, it was $500. And it's like, well,
Oh,
it's $2,000 now.
that's
I can't,
facts.
I can't
Yep.
even buy the fabric for $500. So sorry about that. But,
Yeah, and I always tell them, I said, man, yeah, we made it too good the first time. We'll try to do way worse this time. Make it last not as long. We need more repeat customers quicker.
and knowing you, Mike, I'm sure that's something you actually do say to customers
Oh,
too.
uh-huh. Actually, I do say that.
Yeah, I love
We
it.
have
I
a good
love
laugh, and then I'm kidding, and we still do the same thing we've always done, right? So,
it. Yep, yep. Yeah. What do you guys think as far as, the whole thing we're talking about with branding marketing, as far as when that pertains to, really starting to, especially a new business, but charging really, a good industry standard, charging what you're worth as opposed to some of the, newer shops that have a hard time with pricing and they're maybe not charging what they're worth and they're not making a good enough hourly rate or whatever it might be. How does that help you guys really stand behind and, hey, this is our price and this is why and this is our price?
Justin, tell them your slogan. You said it in Georgia. What is it? The race to the bottom.
Oh, the race to the bottom. Yeah, that's another one. We got a lot of slogans around here. For me, when I heard you ask that question, I've been what popped into my head is they're building a new Porsche dealership up by my house, and I just thought people go there to go spend a lot of money, right? And it's this beautiful, fancy building, and it's branded very well, and you just know it. And I think that's maybe kind of for us too. It's professional, right? And we want to present that we are that professional company and that we demand or command, that professional dollar for our products. And again, it's a little bit like our slogan, pigs get fat, hogs get slaughtered. We don't want to gouge anybody by any means, but God, we want to make a good standard of living. I want my team to be paid like the skilled craftspeople that they are. And I think that our having a really consistent, really professional brand image helps us command that dollar.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I totally agree with that. What do you think on that, Mike?
Yeah, it seems like every few years I play this game with myself, and I never do it because, but I'm like, okay, we build these boat covers out of this material, we charge this much, and if it gets a little slow, I go, should I have a cheaper boat cover? Like I was saying, Justin's saying was, if you race price wise, if you race to the bottom, you might win. And
Mhm.
I'll play this game. Should I choose maybe a 3-year material instead of a 7-year material or 10-year material and offer and you kind of do the math and you go, man, yeah. So I mentally almost every year do this race to the bottom mentality, and then I just can't do it
Right.
because once you do, if you do that, first of all, you will win, which is
Not
unfortunate
good.
part. You will
Yeah.
win, but
Yeah.
you'll have more issues. We don't have a lot of issues when it comes to boat covers as far as the quality and needing repairs or whatever. But I'm just saying. So now you've offered a lower price product, and now you've just invited more problems. I guess is what I'm going to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No matter how good you build it, or you'll try to. It's just that one thing where you do. I'll do a little less reinforcement. I'll do a little less here, a little less there. Yeah, and I've done this, and probably Justin, you've done this too, where people go, I just want a desk cover. I just want a desk cover. And then you work some decent price. What do? They tow with it. They leave with it on the deck on boat. They
Yeah.
they
I
promise.
tell them to go buy something. If dust cover, go buy something on Amazon.
Yeah,
$200.
they
Right.
promise. They were not
Yeah.
going to tow with it. And I'll be dang if they don't just
Yeah.
drive away with that thing on there. And so then I play that game with myself almost every year or two, but I just don't do it just because it's just not. So you just have to kind of dig in and go, well, we do it this way because it's the best and it gives us less headache. And the customers are more happy when we just do it the right, best way the first time.
Yeah.
Yeah, Justin, I will say our guy Ben from our shop here came back from the MFA conference and he had a lot of awesome things to share with me. And like some of the things that stuck with him the best were some of the things that you and then also Clint, he talked to Clint, I think, outside of the presentation, but some of the things that you gave were really that you said were really eye opening to him, and he has just moved. Ben has just moved down from our Northwoods location down to our area, and he's working with us now at our store. So we kind of shuffled the deck on between our three shops of who's working where a little bit. That was one of the things that it stuck with him. He really thought that was sort of, I don't know if inspiring is the right word, but it just kind of clicked. The light bulb went on for him when you were talking about kind of how you price things and, like you said, the race to the bottom you'll win kind of thing. And it's just it's muddy waters that you don't want to get into. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's been our thing too. Is we've It's funny you said that, like that Porsche dealership is. I use the car reference a lot. Is people will come in and be like, two things I'll say is like I use the car reference a lot where I'm like, hey, we're not selling the Chevy Cavalier or the Chevy Impala. Not that those are bad cars; they're great cars, but we want to be selling the Ferrari, the Maserati, the Porsche, and insert any fancy car. Especially if a guy drives up to my shop in that car, I definitely always use that car brand as
Yeah.
opposed to some other car brand. So he's always like hooked. He's like, oh yeah, I got a Porsche. I got to have this Porsche like thing. So that's always something I use. And then that we get the people that come in with this $2,000 or $3,000 or $4,000 pontoon it's an old pontoon that's not worth a lot, and they want to know why this cover is $2,000, $2,500, $3,000, and they're like, "Wow, that's worth more than the boat." And I'm like, "Well, hey, if you take your brand new $100,000 truck to a tire shop, or take your $2,000 rust bucket to the tire shop, if you're getting the same tires, it's the same price. Doesn't matter what the vehicle's worth. It's the tires are this, to put them on is this. That just doesn't matter the vehicle." So kind of two things I always use, little references like that, and customers usually kind of can be like, "Okay, yep, I get it now." So they that usually helps them to understand our industry a little bit, and because it's a lot about um, educating customers that just don't understand. Usually they're not trying to tear you down. They just don't get why things are so
Feel-
expensive.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that, Kyle. That one really resonated with me. So I'm gonna keep that one and use it.
Yeah, put that one in the
Tire
pocket
deal.
there.
I'm
For
gonna
sure.
keep the tire quote. Yeah.
Yep. That one's always been one that I liked a lot. So, how about on like the employee, team members side, or like any sort of partners, collaborators that you might be working with or potentially want to work with? What does tell me about what you guys think brand does for influencing that? I mean, obviously, hiring and team members is one thing. And then, like, I know Justin, for example, I know you guys do a lot of work with some of the OEM, the boat builders, I think, down in your area that you do a lot of stuff with. So obviously, I think it's safe to say, not to steal your thunder, but I think if you guys didn't have such a great branding and marketing and also build a great product, that those opportunities probably wouldn't be there for you guys. So that obviously helps that. But tell me what you kind of think as far as, again, on the employee side and the partners, collaborators type of side, what branding does for you there.
So I mean, again, we strive really hard to make sure that we are making our brand cool, right? Because we want to add value to the OEM manufacturer, just like we do the retail consumer. That like, hey, our boat comes with a so long cover, right? Or our boat comes with a so long bimini top. And that's our ultimate goal. That's our vision. Now, how well we execute on that may vary from day to day, but that's our ultimate goal, is to add that value to the manufacturer so that they can, it's like them saying, hey, we have X speakers in our boat, and those are really good speakers, so that's why you should buy this boat, or that's one of the things that make this boat better than anybody else. We want our brand to be associated with that premium, that quality, that we are one of those things that they're putting on their boat to set them apart from everybody else. And so that to me is huge. And then from the kind of teammate side, we are all very proud to wear our brand, our So Long brand here in the shop, whether it be clothing. We try and make sure our team has plenty of So Long swag and apparel, or giving out bags to customers. It doesn't necessarily, I think, give us dollars, but it definitely gives us unification, right, amongst our team. You go to the Apple store and they've all got the same cool red Apple shirt of the month or blue, right? And they're very identified that that's part of the team. And I think that's, again, kind of what we're trying to do here. We are part of a really exclusive, a very unique organization, and we're kind of proud to wear that badge.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. Yeah, Mike, what do you tell me what you kind of think on that one?
My we're the opposite of being cool, like like Justin. So that's why I said Justin's the king of all of that. So that's why I follow him on Instagram, and I'm paying attention to what he's doing because it's inspiring. And so yeah, so with the small shop, my son's here, and then Dwight's been work. We've been working together well over 30 plus years. So when it comes to like as a shop, I'm not concerned really about that yet. And if I get a little bigger and start hiring outside, then I think I'm going to naturally kind of shift a little bit more
Sure.
to that as a company. So we don't wear shirts, with the logos on them in the shop and do all that. And so I'm just being honest and transparent. I'm
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
just
Doesn't
kid.
everybody wear the cool boatman hat? Or did that
Like I
just
said, I use that if they want to leave me a 5-star Google review, I give them one. But
all
they're
right? So you're doing that with your customers,
so
right?
I pimp it out for a 5-star Google review. Yeah,
Okay. All right.
I'll give them a
You're
hat.
leveraging that brand.
Yeah, I am. Yeah, and that actually works out pretty well. That little trick there, yeah, and like I said, so I've been watching these other MFA guys with doing collabs and stuff, and I haven't yet. So even though we do a heck of a lot of work for the dealers right throughout the city and stuff. I haven't figured out any kind of collab since we don't manufacture, so everything we build is a one-off custom boat cover or bimini or interior or snapping carpet or marine mat and all that stuff. So it's kind of one-off jobs. So we're never duplicating anything. And so I haven't actually put a lot of thought into trying to collab with anybody else as far as brand, but I'm thinking you guys got me thinking for sure.
Yeah, I mean, but so you do, like Justin said, you do a little bit of that without even thinking about it, giving the
Yeah.
hats away or different little things. There is some of that in your business. But I get that. Like Mike, for example, just to people that are going to be listening to this, what you said, it's you, and you have two sons, did you say
But
it
my
was?
son and Dwight, we've worked together
Okay,
forever.
so you got three of you at your
Yeah.
shop right now, is what it is. And
Yes.
Justin, what do you have roughly? I know you guys have a pretty good sized
Like
team.
16 people on our team,
Okay, including you, I assume.
including me. Yeah.
Yep, cool. So yeah, I mean, obviously, and we are about 7 to 8 people, depending on the time of the year. We've got some folks that are close to retirement age and just kind of like working a little bit part time when we're busy and come in and helping us out there that have been with us for a long time. So right in that 7 to 8. So we're kind of this group of three people talking is kind of representative of a smaller, medium, in a what we would call definitely a large shop for just in the canvas industry for sure. And once you hit double digits, I think you're pretty much always officially a large shop. I would say. But yeah, my next question for you guys is: what do you guys think? Can a business succeed long term without a strong brand? Is that possible? To me, I think it depends a little bit on the industry you're in or the customers you serve, I should say. If you're a business that just makes widgets for another business and you just make those and they buy them from you and you make them and then they put stuff together and you're a supplier basically, maybe not as much brand needed, except for if you're in a supply market where it is competitive, like some of our suppliers, the different suppliers that are in our industry, they probably need a little branding because it's competitive. We can buy from several different kind of people. But a user end business like all of us that are making something and a customer's buying it, it's a little different. But tell me what you guys think. On a brand, is it an absolute needed thing? Can a business succeed long term without it, almost, or not?
I think you can succeed long term without it because, like I said, your brand's gonna be dictated for you whether you do anything about it or not. So as long as you're trying to do the right thing and not screwing people over and building a good product and doing all that, yeah, I think you could probably not have a brand and be just fine. Now, can you grow to a shop of 16 or so without having a brand and being conscious of all your efforts? No, probably not. But you could definitely stay a small shop and keep cruising along just fine. Like I said, as long as you're putting out, as long as you're a decent, normal, nice, friendly human and putting out a decent product, yeah, you definitely could stay a small shop and never consciously brand.
Yeah, you're almost saying basically the larger you are, almost the more important the brand starts to become. Almost is kind of what I'm hearing out of you, Mike. Is that kind of what you think?
Say that one more time.
I said the larger you get as you grow, the more important the brand becomes, kind of thing. Is
I
that
would
is
think so. Yeah, yes, so definitely it would be a must. It would be end up top shelf priority as you're getting bigger, or if you decide or if you're just small and you're competing against other small shops, then if you do put the effort into branding, well, then you start to separate yourselves too. If you do it on with intent, right? So it would create separation against same size shops in your area if you put effort to branding and marketing.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. What do you have to say about that, Justin?
Yeah, I mean, I do think you can grow. I think I had two examples. One is my dad's shop, which is in the upholstery industry, and they don't put a ton of effort into their branding or marketing. And I think maybe brand or marketing, right? I might be confusing the two in my head. And I got another friend who's just a manufacturer, builds these little stick packs. And I couldn't even tell you what his brand or company name is, right? It has
Sure.
nothing to do with, but I think in our industry specifically, and especially where you're kind of consumer and you're trying to build that recognition, you're trying to get the 5 stars, you're trying to get the referrals, that word of mouth. I do think the more attention you give to it, the more it helps you win. So
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the way I look at it, it just as you guys were kind of talking, something jumped into my head, a little sort of a quote or maybe more of an analogy. But to me, like a brand is one of the tools in our tool belt, and you can do a lot of jobs if you're missing. If you leave a couple tools in the van, you can still do a lot of jobs, and you can probably do just about all of them. But it's one of those tools that helps to build the best job or the best outcome. Let's put it that way. So using that tool can be highly effective to really push your business, like you said, Mike, to the next level, take you to that next level. I mean, I think if you look at some of the world's biggest and most successful companies, I don't think you can really look at or most memorable companies. And we have the Super Bowl coming up this weekend. That's a great point. All those ads, the brand and the marketing. Obviously, the brand. There's the brand, which is the logo and all the things you think about that, and then the marketing, which is the commercials and all the social media posts and stuff they do. And those are highly branded, highly marketed companies that they pay teams of people way bigger than our teams all put together to just do just that, is to market their businesses, and it's highly successful. I would argue some businesses in really competitive things like I always think about one of the commercials I always expect to see is Doritos, which is they seem to have one every year. And there's a million bags of chips you can buy. And why Doritos is thought, they obviously just stick in your head. They make you think of the funny commercials. And that's why when you go to the supermarket, they're hoping you reach for their bag of chips, kind of thing. So yeah, I think it's an interesting topic there. I do think you can succeed long term without it, but I do think it's a tool to take your business to the next level and keep kind of pushing and growing, maybe faster than you would have without it, for
Yeah.
sure. Um, how about let me ask this question here. And this is going to be the last kind of brand question, and then I'm going to throw some sort of rebranding marketing questions at you guys. But if you're a business that's starting, maybe you're in the first 5 years or couple years, and you're starting in this industry, and you could only invest in one thing early on, would you say the brand should be part of your decision at that point, putting some money into it? Or is that not the top of the list in the first 5 years of business when you're starting trying to grow your canvas upholstery marine flooring shop? Yeah, I know that's a tough one I threw at you.
So I guess maybe I want to clarify. I think there's kind of a difference between effort and energy into brand versus marketing that brand, right? Because I think in the first 5 years it's probably important that you think about or consider what your brand is, what your brand means, maybe a
Yeah,
little bit of logo work, or put some effort there, but it doesn't necessarily direct cost impact. Now, marketing, on the other hand, may be a whole different story. I think there's a lot of guerrilla marketing, word of mouth, building relationships you can do without a ton of money, especially when you're that small shop, right? You don't
yeah,
need to be Mike Boatman and spend 2 hours every day on social media when you can just go to the marine and talk to people or ask people for word of mouth. When you start scaling and getting bigger, then you need to really think about marketing and putting effort, then spending 2 hours a day on social. But I think paying attention to who you are and what your brand is and what your brand represents and what you want to be seen as, I think is critical in the early days.
hmm,
But that I want to be clear that I think that's a little bit different than spending money on marketing that brand.
yeah. Well, I think, like you said, that you can invest money into things, or you can invest time and efforts and some hustle into things. When you think about social media, you of course can spend some money on advertising posts and whatever the can't think of what the word is.
Meta ads and yeah.
Yeah, you could do all that kind of stuff, or you can just be consistent with posting, and it'll organically grow without spending money. So, and that just costs time. That's
Yeah.
invested time. But yeah, Mike, what do you have to? What would you say on that first say 5 years again? Like we're still talking.
If somebody's starting out, I would say one, pray a lot if you're into that. If you're not, then you should consider it. So that would be the first thing I would do. And then when it comes to marketing and brand, so I would just be giving you theories at this point on that question, just because since we're third generation in now, and even though I've been doing it 30 years, I started back in late 90s after I graduated from college. Don't know why I did that, but anyway, so here we are today. So to be honest, I didn't start a business like with, all right, let's open the doors. I got this idea. Let's market it and brand it. So I've never really done that from the beginning. So, like I said, all my stuff is just kind of opinions and theories. Now, I did do kind of a, I don't want to say rebranding. I didn't look at it like that at the time, but I guess it was. I kind of had to make a business shift to my own situation, business wise, with Boatman Marine Canvas, like I said, in 2017, 2018. So then I redesigned the logo, redesigned the colors. I know that's marketing, but yeah, but I've redesigned all of that and wanted to create kind of a different image, look, appearance, if you will.
Mhm.
And like I said, there was also a lot of praying too. Back to that in the 2017. I'm not if I'm answering your question very well, but that's so I've done kind of a bit of a rebranding, I guess, if you will,
Yeah.
uh, more
Well,
than startup. Right.
your answer is a perfect segue to my next question. I think jumping into the next question was going to be about rebranding. What, and Justin, I don't know. Have you guys ever? Yeah, you've done art. Yeah, because you had some different colors and you've sexied up your look and kind of coolified it, whatever you want to use. Better be politically
Yeah.
correct here. But what was the reason? And I know, Mike, I've talked to you about your reason. We've discussed that before, and whether you want to talk about it or not, you don't have to. But what is the moment when you think what causes you to go, hey, let's rebrand this thing. Let's make a new logo. Let's pick some new colors. Let's try a different direction and try to build some new excitement around it. Or what is the reasoning behind that?
Well, so for us, I mean, we started off as custom covers, and in the front of my building, I still have our old custom cover sign hanging up out there and some branding. And our website was so long. And what we kind of discovered over the years is that all of our local customers knew us as custom covers. But as we started to kind of gain a national presence, people knew us as so long from our website. And then as well as that, I mean, if you kind of Google custom covers in whatever city you're in, there's a lot of you out there. There's a lot of custom covers or custom canvas, a lot of things like that out there. But So Long was a pretty unique name. And so we really were like, that makes it a lot easier for our customers to find us. And so that's when we kind of started to really make the transition. And we kind of co-branded, if you will, and we still even kind of do. We answer our phone, So Long Custom Covers, just help people with that transition, especially our local cover. I thought you were custom covers. I've even had people say that. I thought you were custom covers. And I'm like, well, we're So Long, we're custom cover, we're one and the same. For the most part, we're kind of over that hurdle. And that also kind of back to your last question, should the company think about that? I was the guy who didn't really think about what the brand meant and the logo and all of that when I first got into business. I had some designer. I'm like, custom covers. Well, that's what I'm making, custom covers. Of course, that's my business name. And yep, that logo works perfect. And away we went. And then as we've kind of evolved and we're like, hey, let's be more intentional about this. How can we make our logo unique and stand out? And so that's been kind of our story in our transition to really the brand and the name and that.
So I'm going to have an example that's just like way out of left field into professional wrestling. Okay, did I say it was way out of left field? All right. So here it goes. The best rebranding that I've ever seen, and I don't even know why I even clued in was paying attention to this for all these years, but everybody knows a professional wrestler called The Rock, right? Well, when he was getting out of or trying to get out of wrestling, even though he's still kind of in it, but into movies, right? He was getting more recognition, more mainstream, and he wanted people to know who he was. He didn't want to go just by The Rock, right? So if you watch over the years his transformation on his personal name branding, he goes from The Rock, and that's everybody knew him. What's his real name? We don't know, right?
Sure.
And so then it went to when he was in movies and stuff, then he became Dwayne The Rock Johnson,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
You knew that. And then they slowly kind of moved and then right, so they went from The Rock to Dwayne The Rock Johnson, and then they dropped The Rock and then went to Dwayne Johnson. So really, if you I think most of us, or at least maybe just a few nerds like me, maybe, but if you say Dwayne Johnson, well, I know that that's The Rock. But if you watch all over all these years of his career, how he didn't just instantly go, I'm not The Rock anymore, call me Dwayne Johnson, right?
Or I'm gonna people's elbow you.
Yeah, right. Or the people elbowing, right? Exactly. So there was this kind of slow transition. So for some reason, have always paid attention to that. I was just kind of fascinated by just the way he kind of slowly rebranded himself over time and became known by his name, which is Dwayne Johnson. And so I think that's the same thing kind of in business too. You could do a hard stop if you wanted to, but if you can gradually change it, kind of like Justin, they answer their phones so long, custom boat covers or whatever your deal was, right? So you're still kind of slowly transitioning without that hard stop, and it makes it a little more smooth and seamless. And then when you add more products too, right, then that's another kind of way to rebrand too, right? So now I'm starting to work with stainless steel. So now I got to kind of rebrand so people know we also work with stainless instead of aluminum. So it's just kind of a slow, ongoing transition. And maybe we're always kind of slowly changing our brand, maybe without even knowing it. And you definitely are when you add new products too.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that kind of goes back to your question: should somebody, when they're in their first 5 years, pay attention to it? Yes, because it is easier to do it then, which it seems hard at the time, than it is to do the rebrand later, right? So,
True.
not that I would have had the foresight to do that in my early days.
But if you listen to this and you're starting a business and it's in your head, it's usually probably not one of the first things that's in your head when you're starting a business, because there's so many things to do and consider and hustle and try to and get customers and all the things that go along with starting a business, because those first 5 to 10 years are the hardest, and when most small businesses fail statistically. Yeah, it's easy to just like overlook that and, hey, I just got to build a good product, that'll take care of itself. And in some ways that's true. In many ways that's true, but like you said, if you actually go into that with a little bit of a game plan on your brand and your marketing, whether you're really executing that game plan to the highest level at first, maybe isn't such a big deal, but at least whatever you are doing from a brand and marketing standpoint is consistent for what your maybe 5, 10, 20, 15 and beyond your vision is. So you're staying consistent. And like you guys both said, it's not like you can't change, because obviously both you guys have. We probably 10 years ago now came out with a new logo and just kind of wanted to give a refreshed logo look, that because our old logo was just basically block lettering kind of thing, and we didn't have a logo, it was just lettering basically. So it was one of the first things I did after I really started getting more involved into like an ownership level in our business, which is of course started by my dad and his dad. So same type of thing. So kind of an interesting deal. But man, I do wish we had a lot more time to talk about this, because I think some of these things are great topics for sure. And I think we could go on and on and on about this and have this several hour podcast. But I do want to thank both you guys for coming on and being with us and kind of talking and sharing your expertise on it. But yeah, it was great having you both. Thank you for joining us for this episode of ATA Talking Textiles. ATA is a not-for-profit association representing the International Specialty Fabrics Marketplace. Learn more about events, workshops, and webinars that ATA hosts throughout the year at textiles.org/events.